Alright guys, welcome back. Um, Definitely excited to get this video out here. As you can tell, it kind of looks like a normal ALH wiring harness, other than that little P plus right there. And the fact that when you get out here to the other end, we've got a PD injection plug. So I got the opportunity to look at one of these guys. Somebody sent in for me to do, and I wanted to go ahead and kind of give a rundown for it. I know a lot of us in the US won't have much need for this, although it is very appealing to set up one of these EDC15 ECUs in a swap, because the cruise control and everything doesn't look at speeds and all that stuff that can definitely complicate the gear ratios and everything affecting the cruise working. So this really makes a simple PD harness, although it will only run probably a BHW or a BEW. It still won't do the BRM, but just kind of wanted to give a quick rundown on it. I did finish this thing already just because, honestly, I wanted to make sure it worked. The only schematics I could use for it were mostly ALH schematics, and then some stuff from the guy in Italy that sent this to me, which of course it's all in German or Italian. I can't remember. Either way, it was definitely not doing me any good. So through a little bit of translation there, we were able to get this thing pretty well squared away, which is pretty awesome. Um, I'm not going to go through the specifics of how I set up the power. That is the same as my ALH, and I'll probably just link my ALH video in here that really goes through the power stuff well. I don't want to go through the whole thing again, but basically all the power comes through the main fuse that powers up the ECU, and it's also going to power any of the sensors that need power. So that'd be things like the N75 valve or the cam sensor. I'll kind of go over the specifics of each of these sensors that were different. One of the big things that's kind of interesting, they have a much more basic glow plug relay. It's just a simple on and off, nothing fancy like the stuff we got in the US. I'm not sure why, but it's just, a simple fuse, and it's like a giant I forget what they call. I mean, obviously it's a 202, but it's basically just like the 87 relay. It's just like a big one of these. And so again, my power diagram kicks on the sensors and the ECU with this guy through one of my wires here. I've got the main one to keep the OBD signal, and then this is going to be what kicks on that 87 relay over here, and that goes straight to the ECU. And just like the ALH ECU, you've got your two power wires here, as well as the pin 37. Man, got a little bit of a cold here, so hopefully you're not having trouble hearing me. But the 37 pin and the two main power wires are the only things that are needed for the ECU to kick on. There's no extra power from the small plug side, which is good because, yeah, like I say, I didn't have really anything to go off of when I was trying to make that. And I guess kind of to go over here, I will get a kind of a screenshot of this thing that's more clear so you can go off of it, but this one is a little blurry. Anyway, I kind of redid where the ALH varies, which is again mostly on the small plug side. There's no needle lift sensor. There's none of the stuff that would go to the injection pump. There's mostly just your crank position sensor, and then instead of the needle lift, you've got your cam sensor, and that also gets power to the number 1 pin on the cam, just like the BEW would. So it's kind of interesting how they all relate. And then instead of a fuel temperature from inside the injection pump on the ALH, you've got these two, the same pins that went to the fuel temperature inside go to pin 1 and 2 on the fuel temp plug. And then, I mean, one of the main differences is you've got your 5 injector, the main injector plug here, those 5 wires. I traced those out to go to each one of the injectors, and then again they go to each of these pins here. So a lot of that's already pre-wired, so you're not really going to have to mess with that, but I just wanted to kind of go over the differences. And then that the glow plug relay, like I was saying, it's super simple as far as the power just comes on with the key. So that's in part of the power schematic to power everything up when the key comes on, when that 87 relay powers up. And the negative for the glow plug relay, then it comes from pin 42, or sorry, 42, which is not part of, it's completely different than the ALH. But if that pin goes back to the relay, you can kind of hear it. You can hear it click on whenever you power up the ECU. It just kind of defaults on and then turns off depending on the coolant temperature. So it's pretty straightforward. And yeah, other than tracing out these, which again, they're all going to be pretty much pre-wired on this PD150 or PD130. I'm pretty sure it's a lot. In anything that runs this EDC15P plus ECU, these are pretty much all pre-wired, but it just kind of goes over in that schematic, or that diagram here. Shows you what all that stuff goes to. As far as the big plug over there, as far as I can find, most of this stuff is all the same. I haven't really checked, like the tack wire, the wake up, as far as if you were going to use the 109 relay, the alternator and stuff. That I didn't check over a whole bunch, but most of this stuff, obviously your power is the same. Your your K line for the OBD, that's going to be the same. Your map and your mass airflow sensors, those all appear to be the same. The throttle, everything are on the same pins. So that's what I went ahead and used here when I was setting it up. The throttle, I just mapped it out to the same pins I would on the ALH plug. Your OBD, obviously only the K line goes to it, and then it has a full-time power wire and the ground. So after that, again, just to reiterate, there's your bigger 50 amp fuse for your glow plugs, the 2 power wires I usually set up in my diagram, 1 ground wire, the PD is going to have a cam and a crank sensor. Again, these are pre-wired. The N75 you've got to run the power to, and then the map sensor again is pre-wired. And then there's a few things you got to add to the mass airflow sensor. Normally I just delete that, but that'll need power as well. Your fuel temperature, I pointed that out. That'll go to the temperature inputs on that small ECU plug. This is the alternator plug. That it only has one wire there. I always just give the other wire full-time power, but aftermarket alternators are going to want a diode in there to work properly. And then the coolant sensor, it all matched up being the same. The wire colors are different on a lot of these plugs from the ALH. I just had to go pin to pin on these. But if you can get on the swap group and use this sheet here off of the ALH, you can almost figure this out. There's definitely some trial and error to figure everything out 100%. But again, this is pre-wired, and the gold plugs are super easy on these. And in fact, I really like using them on all of mine. All of mine, even my BRMs, I like to go to these 12-volt glow plugs because it's just all of them get spliced together into one simple power on. So pretty nice, easy setup there. Again, sorry I have a little bit of a cold here. Hopefully that didn't mess up any of my words, but feel free to comment or get in touch with me on Facebook if you had any more questions on this. But definitely pretty sweet to set one of these up. I may even try to use one of these on my BEWs in the future, just because it is so simple to work with. And then this is all the brake and the cruise stuff ready, set up so that you can get the cruise going. Like I was saying, it's pretty much plug and play. There's no complications like the EDC 15 or 16 ECUs wanting to see a lot more variables in the tuning. These guys, the cruise control just works. So anyway, hopefully this helps anybody out. Maybe some more people in the UK that are trying to make a harness like this. This should pretty well get you set up for it. So thanks for watching.